Hey guys, I want to share with you a little project that I'm working on, and I'll show you how I made these little styrofoam coffins. I'll post a picture of them right here, and you guys will, we'll walk together through the process of how I'm doing it. I just thought it'd be a really cool idea, something new to create, some supporting props for my action figure photography. And I'll let you guys see how I do it. Hopefully they come out good. I've never made styrofoam coffins, but there's a few tools I'm going to use, and I'll link those in the description down below. So if you find that you might want to get some of these tools, then I'll give you the links of where I actually bought them, so you can see what they cost and things like that. And anyway, well, let's get started, and come on. Hey guys, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking my micrometer. I'm just getting some basic head and shoulder and body lengths and widths to kind of get an idea of what size I want to make this coffin. The typical figure I'm going to use this for is going to be my NECA 7-inch figures. They vary in width, but I'm just going to kind of make a generic size here. And then I measure out of my stock piece of foam 5 inches. I'm going to create a 9x5 cut here so that I'm left with a piece that I can use. You see me making my straight line here. I'm going to run this through the Poxon cutter and cut off this piece of stock that I can use, and there we go. And I'm going to turn it on its edge and run it cut straight up the center of that and make four pieces out of this, so that I have one top and one bottom, and then I have an extra set for something else. But anyway, here I put Jason on there and measure and give the thumbs up. It's a good measurement. Now what I'm going to do is at the very top and bottom of the piece, I made 2-inch straight lines, and then from the 2-inch straight mark I made lines 4 inches out to the side, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just making my lines and cutting those, and like I say, what I did is I created a 2-inch line over his head and a 2-inch line under his feet, and then I put 4 inches up from the bottom. I put a line on each side, a dot on each side, and then I just drew connecting lines from the top and bottom, and that gave me the nice coffin shape. And you can see here the first cut is done, and I put that on top of the other piece to kind of make sure that the lines line up. And one of these pieces has to be wider than the other. The top has to be wider because by the time I put the edging and stuff on later, it needs to be able to fit. So the bottom piece is narrower in width than the top. They're both the same length, and that's just what I'm double checking here, is that my lines are going to be right, because this bottom this piece that I'm cutting now has to be wider, and I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my cuts and wasting my foam, because I haven't made one of these before, and so I just want to make sure that I was doing it right. And so there may be a better way to do this, but this is the way I did it, and it worked. And you'll see in the final images how cool it looks. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting some height or depth measurements, because this piece I'm about to cut now in the Proxon cutter is going to be the sides of the coffin walls. And I want to make sure that they're going to be high enough that there's a that when Jason fits in there on his back, that his feet or his belly or something aren't touching the lid, so that it'll close solid. So I'm just moving my fence over here, and I'm going to cut some stock pieces out of this, which I think are probably about 2 inches tall. And I'm going to cut, I think 4 pieces. And I'm going to, now that I've got those cut, I tack those together, and then I put those edging pieces on there, so that I can measure the excess I need to cut off of that bottom piece. And so I put those on there, then I mark it with a pin, what I'm doing now, and that's going to give me a line that I can trim off that excess, so that everything, there's no overhang. And when I put the lid on later, everything is pretty uniform. And it was kind of confusing at first, but it's the way that I figured out I could do it best. So I mark these lines here, and I work around the coffin shape, and now I'll grab that and I'll do it on the other side and kind of mock it up here, so hold it and make sure everything goes together. And I'm fumbling for something. There we go. I got both pieces there, and I cut them. I want them to be a solid piece from bottom to top, and thick enough so that they can hold, so that when you put the hot glue on there, it's not going to melt through. And that's why I needed them to be kind of thick, because the hot glue, if I wasn't careful, it was going to melt through. And if I did the walls thinner and tried to use tacky glue, there was too much tension on them where the coffin shape curves, and they wouldn't stay pinned together. So I had to ultimately use hot glue and come up with the thickness of wall here that I did. So, and I'm happy with those. So now I'm going to measure my fence out here, and we're going to make another cut. And I like this Proxxon cutter, man. It's really a nice tool. And here I'm cutting the top and bottom piece where the head and foot go. And what I'm doing, fumbling for something anyway. Who knows? I get all sidetracked. So anyway, my end looks good. My piece looks good. Okay, we're good. So I'm just kind of mocking it up right here, making sure everything fits together. And I'm going to file with an emery board some of the edges that overlap so that we get some nice clean mating points where these pieces come together and they're even and not looking all ragged and jagged and crappy. I'm going to take my tin foil and roll out some texture into this foam. And, you know, it's a pretty easy process here. Just make some nice deep imprints of the foil on the foam. And, you know, the foam takes it really well. It makes some nice texture. You'll see in the end images that I got some good stone texture out of here. I'm doing the edges too, tops and bottoms all around these pieces. And that way I make sure that everything, you know, gets textured the right way. So when I go to paint it, I've got some good, you know, looking pieces. Then I'm going to hot glue this. And I had to do this kind of quick and carefully because not only does this glue dry quickly, but if I do it the wrong way, it'll melt the dang foam. And not only that, but it's really stringy. So when I put the hot glue on and I go to get my pieces, I've got these little invisible pieces of hairline glue string flying everywhere. But I didn't know a better way to do it. But anyway, it worked out. Everything looked good. You know, you'll see at the end here, I'm putting glue on the head and the foot part of the coffin and just waiting for it to cool for a second and scraping off some of the excess. I can't talk. But yeah, I tried to get these seams as clean as possible. And here, I didn't know in the beginning, I went ahead and I hot glued one edge at a time, like one half right here. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Anyway, and I ran it all the way up and glued them all the way around. And I'm going to file these edges down and clean it up and make sure everything looks right. The hot glue was kind of a chore, but you know, I got it done and it was the best way that I think I could do it. And who knows what I'm doing here on my phone. I think I'm going on Facebook Live right here. So the coffin's put together and we're just cleaning it up right now, doing some, you know, little finish work on it. And I'm pretty proud of the way this came out. It's strong, it's durable, it's full of good texture. It's the first one that I've made, and the measurements are all good. The process, you know, I could have did a few things a little different in the constructing of it as far as the process goes. But overall, for my first coffin, I'm really happy with the way this came out. You know, everything's even and clean and neat, and the lid closes nice. And you know, here we are with these emery boards, and those emery boards are awesome, man. They're a great way to file some of this foam down when you're trying to clean up edges and ends and corners and stuff. And the tools that I use for this I'll link down in the description. If you guys happen to want to buy anything, you can see what I used, and it goes right to Amazon. It's a affiliate link, so you know, you buy it from Amazon and I get a little commission out of it in order to keep the channel going. But here's Jason inside here, and he fits really nice. You know, and there's room in there because I'm going to put some cloth later. The lid looks good. I might trim up and clean up some of the edging with the emery board. And I'm going over here right now to put a Freddy Krueger in there just to kind of look and see that another figure. And this Freddy Krueger has a cape, so there's some extra bulk to him, and he fits in there nice. So I'm happy with the shape and the depth, the height, and the way everything closes and fits together. Looks really good to me, and I'm happy with it. Look at that, you know. So what we got left to do now is just clean up a little bit, black wash, paint. Hey guys, so I want to share with you the end result of the coffin that I built for my NECA figures. And here it is. I have Pennywise in it right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in and walk you through kind of the little parts of the coffin that I think are really cool, and talk about maybe some of the material that I used to make it, and I'll link that in the description down below to the Amazon affiliate link, so you can get any of this stuff on Amazon if you want to. This is the first coffin that I've ever built, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little supporting prop to have in doing toy photography. You can buy some of this stuff. I mean, you can buy these coffins and things like this, but I mean, you can make it too, man, and have fun, and by making these things, by imagining these things and making these things and photographing these things, the whole process is a creative event that is uniquely yours. And you can buy somebody else's prop or coffin or diorama or whatever, but if you can make something, then man, I'm always for making something, and it's just part of the fun in doing this, especially for me. Anyway, let me go ahead and cut right to showing you some of the cool parts of the coffin, and explain to you some of the little cool features in it anyway. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to take this diorama, this back wall down, and just kind of briefly kind of go over some of the things that I think. Let's take Pennywise out, and here's the actual coffin itself. I took some spray adhesive, and I took a handkerchief, and I dyed it with stained it with coffee, and then I spray adhesive inside here so that this towel stays folded up in there. I got some really nice, if the camera will pick it up, I'll put some still images up to show you, but I got some really nice little stone texture, dry brushed some nice white highlight in here. The end pieces I think are fitted together really nice. Everything's glued. I got a little excess glue here, but you know what? I'm not going to take a picture of the bottom of my coffin, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But for the most part, everything is really clean down here, except for a little extra glue there. The top piece is fitted together nice and clean. I sealed it with the Mod Podge, the matte Mod Podge is what I used, and that way it doesn't give me a really shite briny reflection when I set my lights up and my flashes and I photograph this. I got some nice texture. I textured all the sides of the pieces so that when you take the lid off, you see the texture in here, and some nice white dry brushing and highlights. Here's the lid. Got some good texture going on in here, some nice dry brushing. I didn't really know at first what I wanted to do on the lid. I looked up some of these stone coffins, Roman stone coffins and things like that, and they weren't, other than actual carvings, they weren't really, fitted with a lot of ornamental stuff, like wooden caskets and stuff are, but there were carvings, and since I'm not a carver, I went ahead and just took the end of a paintbrush and scored a nice cross in there, put some texturing in there. Once again, I did the edges and the sides, all the way around. Got some good texture in there. Same with the inside. I made it a little darker since it's the inside. It fits together real nice. You can take, Jason here. Pennywise is a little big to go in there and fit sideways because he's one of the wider characters. Lengthwise, he does fine, but the actual width of him is really wide. Jason will fit all the way in here and close just fine. And the measurements and stuff in the beginning, it took me a second to plan it out and think of how I wanted to actually do it, but I'm really pleased with the way it came out. I really am happy with this. It's gonna really add some nice scenery or props, some realism to my images. So, and here he is with Jason standing up. Anyway, I think it's a really nice job, and there's always room to improve on any project that you do or I do. You know, I can look at it right away and say, yeah, I'm very pleased with it, but you can always pick out little parts that you can do better next time. But I'm really happy with it. It's going to photograph really well, and we're going to have a good time with it. And I'll post another video of the actual photographs that I take with it when I do the photo shoot. I'll post those in another video, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick little you know, walkthrough showing you how I put this thing together. It was a pretty fast video. It was sped up a lot, but I did explain it, and the materials are linked down below. The best way to, you know, do some of this stuff is just to start doing it. It's really fun, and it takes your toy photography to a whole different kind of level, you know, than just going outside perhaps and putting action figures in the grass or in the dirt. You know, grab a couple pieces of styrofoam, man, paint it up, you know, create something cool. See what you're capable of. In the meantime, stay tuned for my next video. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at insightful_imagery, or like and subscribe here on YouTube. My website, www.insightfulimagery.com. Take care.